All right, I'm going to start the recording again. So please knock out your video if you do not want to be in the video.
Okay, so I'm going to try and share again.
Thank you, Anne.
Take it away, Wendy.
All righty. So we just returned from breakout rooms. I think that people are still returning, right? And in your breakout rooms, you talked about what's one thing you found interesting or surprising, or something that you learned. We also talked about an action that you can take, or something that you can apply. So maybe time for a couple people to share from your groups what that looks like, or also inviting people to add in chat a takeaway that you felt like you either learned, found interesting, or would apply in your work and in your life. Just leave an opening for that.
I just want to say that our group people were really affected by your initial comment about how we're in this together. We don't have to try to do it alone. And the sharing we did in the small group was wonderful and reinforced that. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
And our group really talked about how we can really bring wellness and DEI together as, as synergy. And we love too your definition of equality versus equity. And again, continue to evolve personally and professionally.
That's excellent. Thank you. We can go to the next slide also. Okay. We can also come back. I'm going to invite until we end. If anybody feels called to share more. I see in the chat that there's also listening to hear others, being vulnerable together, and open to meeting every individual where they are, being inclusive, right? That's great. So the slide would be the one that says how to navigate making mistakes. I just want to acknowledge that we're all human in this, right? The reason that we talk about racial justice and the need for equity is that traditionally, we've been an industrialized nation where we've had to create a factory mindset of getting people through a system of education, right? A system through higher education. And then how do we integrate diversity in? Because it's been a predominantly white world. And through time, as we integrate people, there's discomfort. We don't know. It's uncertainty. Just think about all the things we know now about uncertainty living with COVID and the economy and what's happening in the world, and apply it to racial justice. Like, it's uncertain to integrate groups of people who come from different backgrounds, who look different, who are different with each other. So how can we have grace and humanity and forgiveness for ourselves and for others so that we can continue the work baby step by baby step, breadcrumb by breadcrumb, so that social change can happen over the arc of our lifetimes? Like, and that may be just a great question. It's like, what can you do in your lifetime? What's the change that you want to see in your lifetime that feels realistic, given that social change is hard and long? So you're going to make mistakes. How do you move on? So spend some time unlearning. There's like myths, there's family and cultural upbringing, there's ways that you have been shaped, things that you probably believe that show up as bias, that show up in how you interact with people of different cultures and backgrounds, different learning styles, right? There's so much to diversity outside of race as well. So what can you unlearn? And I would ask maybe to spend 5 minutes at the close of this, if you have time, and just jot down 2 things that you feel like you can actively try to unlearn over the next 3 months. Then keep striving for your own accountability. If you make a mistake, great. Apologize from the heart. Take actionable steps. It will be vulnerable. It will be hard. It will be uncomfortable. But, slow down and feel your feelings and allow yourself to find the right words that come out from a person who wants to do good in the world, from a person who is ultimately good in your heart. What are the right words that come from there and not from a performative place? I'm going to say, check your ego, because sometimes when we apologize for missteps in the racial justice realm, that we are so embarrassed that we freeze, right? We go back into that, we're getting dysregulated. So leave your ego aside and say, I need to stay my window of tolerance. I'm going to apologize because it's the right thing. I'm going to take accountability in this way. Uncentering yourself is another way to do that. Checking your ego, uncentering yourself. This is about the impact that you made on someone else, right? Their feelings were hurt. They were othered, meaning that they felt like they were pushed away and didn't belong. That they were offended. Like, those are real things that can happen from the work here, but make it about their experience and not about your own. And then listen. Who do you listen to? Be proximate. Who do you listen to keep learning? And with that, the hope is that we keep moving forward towards change. I'm seeing some comments in the chat about being proximate to learning. That might be a learning plan there, just like you have personal and professional development goals for your work life. Might you have a personal and professional learning plan around racial justice and health equity outside of your organization? It's just personal to you. We talked about some very concrete things with my small group, and that was, learn people's names. Are you pronouncing the names of people correctly? If someone's in a meeting and they mispronounce someone's name over and over and over, I have a co-facilitator. Her name is Iman, but everyone says Iman because that's a more common pronunciation. And I've now stepped into saying it proactively, saying it ahead of time, introducing her correctly, saying her name several times so that it's ingrained in other people's. And there's no need to shame when that happens. Yes, the name of the book is Just Mercy. There is a movie about his life, which I recommend as well. It's a wonderful film. And he speaks. So if you follow him and you like to hear him speak, he's a very wonderful speaker and also has a TED Talk. It's Brian Stevenson. The other book I recommended is by Claude Steele. He studies identity safety, and his book is called Whistling Vivaldi. And what identity safety does is it primes people for either success or failure. Because imagine if someone said, everyone with brown hair that we've tested in the past 10 years fails this test or scores 10 points less than everybody else on this test. That's going to affect your ego. It's going to affect your sense of readiness. And you're going to go into that test and not do as well statistically significantly as others who did not get that message. So imagine being black-skinned, brown-skinned in places of performance where people might think that you may not perform at the same rate because of past history, because of affirmative action, because of things that have been put in place for better or worse. Like, how do we go to the present moment and see each person arriving with an open heart and open mind, beginner's mind, and giving everyone a fair shot and everyone a fair chance in the moment? I'm open to questions too in the 3 minutes that we have left. And if we want to stop the slideshow, that's it for the slides today.
Questions? I know in my group we had at least one, two questions. So if those people could unmute themselves, that would be great.
And while that's happening, I want to thank Linda and Kelly and Anne and Ruth, and for anyone else who was involved in planning today. Thank you so much for the experience and the opportunity. I'll actually soon be running a workshop called How to Foster Inclusion and Belonging with Clients. It's for service delivery organizations. So concrete steps will be shared further.